So we're gonna be making black macs. Amanda, are you excited? Hopefully they turn out, like I said, cross your fingers. Let's see here. Someone's watching from a work meeting. I love it, Pat. All right, guys. From Texas, Katie, hello. Hello, Illinois, Utah, Greece. I mean, give me a shout out everywhere you guys are coming from. Dancing Macaron Girl, hello. That is me. That's my name. I've gotten dubbed, right? Oh my goodness, it's awesome. Ed said he learned from me and hasn't failed again. Well, I have to say I fail, so I'm thoroughly impressed. Seattle, awesome. Okay, I'm gonna try to lift you guys up a tiny bit more and we'll get started. See if I can keep my clothes on. So it looks really precarious, but hopefully it'll stay. And you still can't see my face, huh? This is awesome. I have to do it in landscape mode for YouTube, and so you can't see my bowl and my face. So I'm just going to say, you don't need to see my face, and I'll just talk, and you can see the bowl instead. Okay, so it's too late now, girlfriend. All right, we're gonna be making black macarons today, and I put on Instagram the measurements. So we've got our 50 grams of egg whites here. I have already my TPT, which means tant per tant, or like equal amounts of almond flour and confectioner sugar. I've got 65 grams of each of those in here. I've got 45 grams of sugar, and just regular sugar. It's not even caster sugar or anything. I just use regular granulated sugar. And I omitted the egg whites this time just to show you guys you can do it without egg whites, because that's the number one thing I get asked about constantly is if you can do it without egg white powder. And you can. You don't have to buy it. It's just a safeguard that I love taking, especially if the weather's bad. That egg white powder is going to really strengthen that meringue. So I'll showcase that you don't need it. We're also going to use a tiny bit, 3 grams of black cocoa powder. And we'll be using super black Americolor gel paste. All right. So let's see here. My daughter. Let's see here. From Holland and France, we've got so many people. Hello. I want to be able to see your comments. So I'm moving the computer over, and I'm sorry about the awkward squat. Just squat it out. Let's see here. Martina, yes. He is. So far, so good. My husband works in a hospital. They keep him in an isolation room most of the day, and then when he gets consults, he goes up to the emergency room. So they are doing all the necessary. I'm nervous, you guys. They're doing all the necessary precautions, and he feels safe. So that's good. All right. May the 4th be with you. Yes. Okay. Minnesota. We've got so many awesome people here. Let's get started so you guys don't have to just see me squat. Okay. So I went over the ingredients. We are going to be making it with a hand mixer. So hand mixers whip up egg whites to that bubbly, foamy stage really fast. So you'll see me, I'm going to mix, and it's gonna be foamy like right away. I'll put in my sugar. I'm not gonna talk during this time because it's loud. So I'll put in my sugar in like 3 little portions, mix it up, and then we'll add our gel paste in soft stage peaks, and then we'll whisk a little bit more, and then our meringue will be done. Then we'll put in our dries, which I'm gonna add this cocoa powder to it now, to make it's not to make chocolate max, it's not for flavor or anything like that. It's simply for the colorant. So it's a powdered colorant, and 3 grams is not gonna do too much to the flavor. So we'll add that to help us to get that white out of the confectioner sugar, which will help us achieve a darker color. And as we macaronage, we'll add more color that's not aerated in the meringue to get a deeper black. Okay? All right. If you don't add 3 grams of black cocoa powder, you add that in. If you don't add the, yeah. Okay, so here's me trying to read and do it. I didn't understand. Okay, guys, sorry about that. See if I can get my phone back on. All right, are we working? Let's see here. Back online. Yay, we're back. Okay. I don't know what's going on. I'm so sorry, guys. Refresh your feeds. Okay, I think we are back online. I'm trying to get my computer set up so I can see your guys' comments. Okay. Alrighty. Someone asked if they wanted to flavor their shells with cardamom flavoring. With this small of a batch, I would do 1 to 2 grams. If that doesn't have enough flavor for you, up it like 1 gram every single time. But this is such a small batch. Do 2 grams, and then you can up it if you don't feel comfortable with that size. If you don't feel like it tastes good enough. Okay, so we're back. We're gonna do this. So we've got our bowl of egg whites. I don't measure how much I put in each time someone asks how much I put in with the sugar. I'm just going to sprinkle it in. You could continue to sprinkle it in the entire time. Okay. I'm moving you guys down for the meringue. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna be on, my mixer is so fast, but I'm gonna be on the first speed, then for 2 minutes, and then I'll put it up to medium speed, and then for 2 minutes, and then the last about 7, it's 7 together, so it'll last like 3 minutes. It's gonna be on high. It's already at the stage where I add the sugar. So we're at this really liquidy stage. I'm gonna turn it to medium. I hate to stop it so much, but I want to show you this. This is a soft peak. Down here in the bowl, it looks better. So I'm going to add some coloring soon, and then we're going to mix till stiff. If you see, you can start seeing the striations from the beater. It stays put. These are pretty stiff. I'm going to do it about 10 more seconds. Yeah, I'm going to do it about 10 more seconds to get it from falling over like that, which is a medium peak. And then we will start going with our dries. There we go. Can you guys see that? It's stiff on the beater. We're gonna go with that. Let's see if you guys can see it. Can you guys see that? Hopefully you can. So what I find is important when I'm using a hand mixer is to make sure you're moving the hand mixer around, getting the sides of the bowl and everything like that. So these are nice and stiff. Now if you're looking at this, it does not look black, right? And that's because it's really hard to get your meringue black. You don't even want to attempt to add so much coloring that it's going to be black here, because even if it did get black, then you aerate it with the whisk, and then it's going to go cementy color again. So I like to add more coloring as I'm macaronaging. So let's add our dries. Let's see if you guys have any questions. I didn't use cream of tartar, but yes, you definitely could add cream of tartar in this. Never a bad idea. I don't have any at home, so I don't, and I haven't bought it, but I would not be opposed to adding that to my macarons. It's an acid which helps stabilize your egg whites and your meringue. I recommend anyone to try macarons. Is that what you're asking, Pepperfish? Do you recommend for intermediate cooks? Yes. If you want to try this, do it. It's so fun. Hi, sweetie. Not right now, okay? It's probably better if you don't come on. So I'm just adding those dries in. And we're not at a black consistency right now. So I'm going to add 2 more drops. In the meringue itself, I added probably about 3 healthy dollops of it. And we're going to add probably 2 more. I have a, what is it called? A collaboration coming up. It's like Starry Night. So I think I'm going to make more of like 2 different colors, like the cement color, and then I'll do the darker color. And I'll mix them together. Okay. Yes, sweetie.
When are you going to be done?
In a little bit, okay? I got to bake them and stuff. So that's 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to see where we're at, and then we can add more if we need it. So someone asked what my recipe was. We went over that. We did 50 grams of egg whites for this batch. And we did flour and confectioner's sugar. So as I'm mixing, I'm not trying to deflate too much right now. That's because I want to have room to mix more if I add more color in. Everyone, this is my daughter, Isla. Oh, you're not quite on the camera, so that's okay. Okay, so I'm going to try for 1 more. See how it went from the cementy color to a little bit darker gray. I'm going to try 1 more and then I stop. Okay, got a little bit more. My hands, you guys, from my... So let's go for it. We're going big, right? Go big or go home. I'm also going to try a little technique that I saw from Zena from Majestic Macarons. And I'm going to... So this is good. We're at a good spot for this. If you can see, it's flowing off my spatula. So we're going to stop here. Sorry about the mess. I feel very dirty right now. My bowl is, a white bowl is not very pretty with the black. Okay. And I'm going to do this one. Just so we have 2 different colors, and then we'll swirl it. We'll do a little swirl effect.
Miss you.
Well, who do you miss? Can you get your hair out of here? If you sprinkle the sugar in. No, Katie, you know what? It doesn't really matter. I've done some where you just dump it all in. I prefer on these small batches to give it time to really dissolve. So I sprinkle it in but I've had it work when you just put all the sugar in at once just fine. So, okay. Let's see where we're at with this little bit. Powdered coloring in the meringue. Yes, you can add powdered coloring. The powdered coloring, we're good on this one too. The powdered coloring, I've noticed, takes a little bit longer to develop and color. So I feel like I don't get the best black when I use powdered coloring with French method. Italian method would be great to put it into your paste and activate it with the egg whites. So here's what I wanted to do real fast. But for powdered colorant, I haven't achieved a really dark color. So if anyone else has it, so this is pink. I'm gonna just try Zena's method here from Majestic Macarons and just paint on, this is saran wrap, to give it a little bit of color when we pipe it out. And we're gonna do the lighter color. This is a really small batch. This batch makes about 1 dozen paired up macarons. Excuse my black hands. What'd you say, sweetie?
Is that gonna be yummy?
Yeah, what do you think?
I think it's gonna be yummy.
You do?
Are we gonna eat it?
Yep.
From somebody else.
Nope, we can't really sell anything right now.
That means we can eat it?
Yep. So, I'm not sure if you'll be able to really even tell that there's 2 different colors. I'm just trying this out. Wanted to do something fun. So, what you do, I'm gonna snip this, put it into our big piping bag and pipe. While these rest, I can look at more of your questions because I feel like I'm getting behind. Didn't end up needing these. No thanks, girlfriend. All right. Uh-oh, my video froze again.
What are you doing?
No battery. Why is it low battery? Is it working? It's saying that I have low battery.
But it's working?
Can you? It says it's working.
Maybe you have to do it on your computer.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay. Excuse me, sis. I don't know what you guys saw. Did you guys, can you walk away? Did you guys see me even putting the batter in the saran wrap? Well, I'm gonna pipe out.
Can I help you?
Oh my goodness, you guys didn't see that part? Well, I painted a line on the saran. I'll show you guys after. I gotta pipe this out. And then I will explain to you what I did.
Can I help you?
No, sis, not right now, okay? Thank you, though.
I saw you though.
Did you?
Yeah, I was watching you. Not the whole thing. I'm excited to watch your video, Mom.
Thanks.
I'm excited to taste these. These look delicious, Mom.
So I am piping to a little bit past that first one. So when I pound it out, the cookies will be to that second. Please, Ella. be to that second ring, which is about 2-inch cookies. That's always my goal, is 1 3/4 inch to 2-inch cookies. And see how it darkens as I'm piping? Like it looks way more black now. So I split my batter, hoping that you could probably see a difference, but you can't. So it just melded together and you can't really tell that it's different. So it probably would have been even more dark if I would have just colored all of it a separate color, the darker color. Okay. So here we go, our piped out Max. Tap it out. Not you, girl. Would you mind going this way for me? Because I don't want your hair in it. Okay. Sorry about that. If you have air bubbles, you can take the air bubbles. Ooh, Cadbury eggs.
Look at it. It's working, Mama.
Yeah, it's working again, but so I don't see any that I really need to do, but I'll show you. Like, you just pop them and then make it nice and smooth on. See how they spread out? So you want to make sure you account for the spread when you pipe. Some of them are a little bit smaller. The first couple ones, it took me a second to figure out how this batter would spread, and then I moved on. And then these ones are all pretty good in the hole. So, Isla, can you stop, please?
I want to see if it did.
When you guys were sadly frozen, I put the 2 different colors together in plastic wrap, and I painted a pink line on the on the saran wrap and rolled it up, cut it. If you guys have seen my Earth Day macarons, it was that technique, but I also colored on the saran. Ugh. Frozen.
This looks nice. Now my hair's good. Whoopsie.
It's saying my battery's low, but I'm plugged in. So let me quickly get a different plug-in.
I got my hands white.
Please, you can definitely not lick your hands, yeah. Why is my charger not working? 1 sec, guys. I'm switching a cord. So this cord is a lot, this new cord that I'm plugging into is not as long, so I'm having to move my whole setup here because my charger was not working all of a sudden. So my apologies. Let me get this back up and hopefully it's charging now. I didn't hear like a charging. Isla, can you stop touching that just so you don't get black like mommy? Her hands all over. Like hands. Okay. Which camera do I have? I'm just using my my iPhone right now. All right, guys.
Hello.
So it's a little janky.
Hello.
All right, so while these rest, what I was saying is that, Isla, can you please give me some space while I explain some stuff? Can you do that for me? Can you go sit on the couch? Oh, okay. Then can you not ask questions to me right now? Thank you. Okay, so what I was saying is I put, like if you've seen the Earth Day macaron video I put out on Instagram, it was a jelly, I jelly rolled up the 2 different colors on saran wrap, but I did a different technique that I saw that Zena from Majestical Macarons did, and Majestic Macarons, she put some food coloring and painted it onto the saran wrap. So if you can see, there's some pink in here. I don't know if the camera is good enough to pick up on that, but I'm making a mess with my hand. You can kind of see up close on here that there's a little bit of pink, but other than that, you can't really tell. So with the dark color, probably not the best idea to try that technique. But I said previously, I don't know if you heard, I have a Starry Night collaboration. So I thought it'd be cool to have 2 different colors, and you can barely even tell with this dark. So we got a tiny bit of marble look, but it wasn't enough. I should have done more of a contrast of colors if I really wanted it to sing. Okay, Isla, you gotta stop touching the table because it's shaking the whole table, okay? All right, so Veronica said that proper macaronage fixed the hollows for her. Yeah, that's a good idea for someone who said that they still have hollows. It's really trial and error and figuring out that oven temperature too, the way that you pipe, everything really, it's such a convoluted, is that even the right, it's such a loaded question because so many factors can go into it. But just practice, practice, practice. I recommend my troubleshooting video. Shoot, it froze again? No, it's not saying it.
But I see it on your phone.
Okay, can you go sit down for me? Yeah. So really trying your oven temperatures, you're not over whipping your egg whites, and also your macaronage. Those are definitely some key things to focus on when you're making them. Let's see here. Chef Master is good, someone said. That's awesome. I haven't tried their black. I can definitely try. This was Americolor, and we did the Americolor Super Black. Let's see here. Trying to catch up on your questions. These are just drying. They're gonna probably take a while. I turned on my air conditioner, and then in a couple of minutes I will turn on my oven to preheat. Let's see here. You guys can see my face, right? JC, your macaron flavor sounds amazing. Baking at Bernie's, yes, it's definitely possible to over tap your macarons. Isla, I need you, please, sweet girl, because you're gonna tap that over. It's not very stable, and it's gonna fall over.
But I see it's freezed.
It's not frozen right now, okay?
But not on there, but here.
So yes, if you tap your trays out too much, you could get lopsided macs. They could spread too much and they don't bake up as well. You don't want to over tap them. Someone asked if I rest my darker colors longer. Yes, I do. Sorry, my daughter is not allowing me to concentrate. Please, sweet girl, I need you to go on the couch for me, okay? I know, but you're not being quiet, love bug. Oh yeah, your name's Isla too. She spells it differently, but yeah, I just realized that's what you said earlier. You have the same name. I am not reprimanding you, Isla. She's the sweetest girl, but she wants to be the center of attention, so it can be difficult. Thank you, Shauna. Okay, so the rest, what macaron recipe do I recommend? Pepper fish. I would definitely try out this one. It's an adaptation from Mimi, Indulge with Mimi's recipe, and it is really great because it's the easier steps of a French macaron recipe, but with the consistency of a Italian method batter. Let's see. With the black food gel. So I feel like AmeriColor definitely develops more as I have it sit. It definitely does. And with powdered gel colors, I feel like it is even more so, where you have to let it sit for too long, that I don't prefer black powdered color for my French method macarons. And I think I was saying I do rest my darker colors longer because they're more wet. Kirsten, yeah, the colors definitely meld together. You gotta do them in separate bags if you want it to really give that separate effect, if they're really close in color, huh? Okay, sorry, you guys. So someone said that they have these same mats, right? The ones from Hello Cocinero, and you either get burnt or raw ones. So that's definitely something you're gonna have to play around with the oven temperature, because these are thicker mats. I bake about 2 minutes longer on these macarons, but my oven temperature is low enough as to where the low and slow makes it so they don't burn. But for certain ovens, I know that's really difficult to get it, so you're shaking the camera every time you do that. For some ovens, it's difficult. So you can try putting parchment over your macarons the last 5 minutes of baking. Once it's kind of set, the feet aren't going to get ruined and the tops are nice and set. You can put parchment paper over it to help it not burn. If your heat source is coming from the bottom, you could even try the last 5 minutes raising, putting your tray up to a higher level. Just play around with your oven, and hopefully that will work. What kind of hand mixer do I have? I don't even know. Let's see here. Power Select 3-speed, the Cuisinart hand mixer. My mother-in-law, when I was at her house, I made them with her hand mixer, and the beaters were different. They had a more flat beater, and it was by Food Network. They have their own line, and her beaters worked perfectly. I actually like them better than my really thin beater. Yeah, I've had a lot of people saying that they can't get stiff peaks with the hand mixer. And so I wish I could use, buy all the hand mixers out there and see if there was an issue with the actual power of it or the beater form. But, I can't. I would assume anything would work though. Cocinero. I will try to get you that link for the mats for Hello Cocinero, but that's the company. You can definitely Google that. So someone asked if there is anything, if over resting is an issue, and yes, it definitely is. I like to keep at my macarons when they're resting and continue to touch them and see if they're dry, because as soon as they're dry, I put them in. When it's raining or humid, I definitely wait a little bit longer, and that changes, which is hard. But in humid environments, I rest for about 30 minutes, even if they're dry at 15 minutes, because I know I just know. That's me for my environment, I need to. But on regular dry days like this, I will bake as soon as they're dry. Most of the time it takes 10 minutes. I don't usually add this much coloring, so it might take longer today. We'll see if we get to bake on this live or if I need to continue on Instagram or something when they're not live. But hopefully it doesn't take a whole hour to dry. So, but back to over resting. Yes, it can cause hollow shells because all of the batter just sinks down, and I feel like they rise up a lot because they're so crusted over, and all of the batter comes out of on your feet. So your feet are pushing out and your batter is coming out instead of up with your shell. Oh, I've been gone for so long, I forgot about my steel French shell. French pan. I should have used that. Veronica asked if I can bake more than one tray at once, and I can only if I do it alternating. I can't put 2 in at once. I have to allow for the first tray to bake half of the time, so it allows for the steam to get out and the moisture that releases when you're baking anything. I have to have that released, and then I can add another tray in. So I alternate through my pans, so it cuts the baking a lot, but it's not all the trays in at once, if that makes sense. Jason, you said your macs are wet on the inside. I would have to know temperature that you're baking at, how long you're baking, and how much food coloring you're using. It could be that it's just too wet. You've added too much coloring, which we'll see if I did on here. I pushed the boundaries. Or your bake could just be your oven is not baking them thoroughly. They look done on the outside, but they need longer on the inside. Someone asked that some people have fatter shells and some people have, they have that cute little bubble butt, kind of look to their macaron, and some have more of a flat look. And that's due to how much you macaronage. So you could macaronage less and get that bubble. And resting. If you don't rest, they will be, some methods, let me think. Some recipes call for no resting. That will also help you get a rounder finished macaron. So someone said they live in a really humid place without AC. I would definitely recommend a dehumidifier. I don't see why it would hurt the macarons to put it by a fan. Definitely you could try the ceiling fan, but it might be precarious. But a dehumidifier will help. I've had friends like Macarons by Mo, so Monique. She lives in Seattle, and she runs a dehumidifier for a few hours before even starting the process of macarons, just to dry out her home. Awesome. Okay. Veronica asked, does too much coloring cause cracking? Yes. It causes cracking, and it will also cause wrinkled tops. So this experiment might also give us some of that result. We'll see. It causes cracking for sure. Excess moisture will definitely, so what it does is it decreases the stability of your batter, and that makes it weak on the top. Even if you develop that skin, it's still going to be weak, and it will crack in the oven. So someone asked what the purpose of egg white powder is and if it directly prevents hollows. No. What the egg white powder does is it's going to, so egg white powder is 100% dried egg whites. And what that does is it adds protein to your meringue. This protein is going to strengthen your meringue. It causes all those little, molecules, I guess, to be super tight and strong, just like gluten. If you think of bread, gluten is a protein and it's going to hold things together and be nice and tough, I guess. It's kind of, but either way, protein added to your meringue without adding moisture is going to help it be super stable, which in turn allows you to macaronage more and get to the right consistency without worrying about deflating too much. So it just gives you more time to get to that point where your batter is perfect, and it also will help you not have to worry about hollows where if you're macaronaging not enough, you can just keep going at it and get to the right, that flowing consistency without as much trouble. Along with that point of egg white powder, protein, oh yes, so in turn, if you don't have egg white powder, you could age your egg whites. It's kind of in place of aging your egg whites, because what aging your egg whites does is it decreases the moisture in your egg whites, but which in turn increases the protein in there, if that makes sense. Never measure out your egg whites if you're aging them before, because you're going to lose moisture and lose your amount of egg whites. So you definitely want to overscale your egg whites, leave them out at room temp with a cover with holes so it can breathe for about 2 to 5 days even, and you'll get your moisture content will go down, the proteins will go up, the ratio at least. Okay, let's see here. Angelica asked about matcha macarons. I don't know if you're asking me specifically to make them or if it's possible, but yes, it's so good. I have some matcha powder. You can add that to your shells, but I wouldn't go too crazy with it because it does weaken the shells. Hi, Tracy. Hopefully we'll have these. Let's see how they're doing. Okay, so they have a skin on them. I'm gonna turn on my oven. Okay, so I have my oven on 300. I turn on a fan, so because I have a tiny little kitchen. So my fan is on to make sure air is circulating and it's not getting too humid in my kitchen. And then as soon as that is preheated, we'll put these macarons in. Let me get back to your questions. Oh, thank you. I really appreciate you guys answering each other's questions when I don't see yours. Yes, I have an Amazon storefront, and I think it's called Judy's Egg Whites is the brand, but you can get any egg white powder. You don't have to get that brand. It's just a resource for you guys to make easy shopping, but you don't have to get the kind I get. Any egg white powder that's 100% egg whites will work. Dried egg whites. Amanda asked if I've ever seasoned my mats, and I've never done that for macarons. I'd be interested to know what they did. I use vinegar and I clean them, but I've never seasoned them. So someone asked, these are all great questions, you guys. Someone else asked if when I'm making macarons Please let me know if you can hear me too with the fan on. I can try to turn it off and see if it works. Someone asked if when I'm baking macarons, if the second or third tray seems to be less full. And I have noticed on the third tray that the feet do rise more and I have less full of a shell if I've rested too long. But it's never so much as to where I don't feel comfortable selling that macaron. There's just a bigger gap. Thank you, Bailey.
Yeah.
Ooh, Nancy said she adds her matcha powder to buttercream. It's perfect. You could do a white chocolate ganache with matcha or a buttercream. Both would be so fantastic, like a matcha latte. How many liters is your sugar container? I have no idea how many liters my sugar container is. I think I only get like the 2-pound bag at Target for my sugar. Oh, Veronica, thank you so much. This is my happy place, so thank you for asking questions. Please ask your questions again if I'm not reading them fast enough or seeing them. Someone asked about meringue powder. I do not use meringue powder in my macarons. I use egg white powder. They are different. Don't put meringue powder in your macarons. Angelica, if you're still there, yes, that's probably because you added too much matcha powder. I would decrease the amount of matcha powder if your cookie is being faulty, if it's being wrinkly tops or fragile tops. Pepperfish asked, what's the recipe for buttercream? I have a fillings video. You can go check that out, and I have a couple different buttercream recipes on there. Bailey, I preheated my oven at 300 degrees and then I drop it down. This is specific. This is where I've confused a lot of people. Specifically for my oven, it shoots up when I add that pan in to like 325, 350. So I lower my temperature when I put my tray in to 280, 275. Lately it hasn't been shooting up as much, so I've been doing 280 and it's been working. Someone, I might have already answered, but someone asked about how to age your egg whites. And to be honest, bakeries have them out in a warm place, like above an oven, like on a hood or something, to evaporate as much moisture as possible. It can get smelly, but the things that have harmful food bacteria in them are the yolk. Egg whites aren't going to go bad. You can leave them out at room temperature, cover them with plastic wrap, pop some holes in there, and leave it out for 2 to 5 days, and it will decrease in moisture, which increases your ratio of protein to it all. Someone asked if you can make macarons with aquafaba. I have not, but definitely I've seen a lot of vegan bakers use aquafaba. You just need to reduce that amount so it's not so liquidy. I've heard you take the chickpea juices and then reduce it a third and then continue on with your recipe, but I am not well versed in it yet. I have not yet tried it. Also, Cindy has done matcha max with this recipe, and it was 2 tablespoons. and it worked. So that's good to know. 2 tablespoons is a lot too. That's awesome. Someone says they add coffee and cocoa powder and their max deflate. I've never added, so is it like instant coffee that you're adding to it? Because that's definitely an interesting, as it dissolves, it's very interesting, and I can see how that would deflate. Cocoa powder, I'm not sure about. I like to sprinkle the top of my macarons with ingredients. If I'm worried that it's going to ruin the shell, I'll just put it on top of it instead. So I like to sprinkle with instant espresso powder on top, and it does really well. Try that instead of adding it into your batter. Amanda, recipes for, I mean, this doesn't take much, right? I would even do any type of recipe with, if you're doing like a buttercream, just do 57 grams of butter. So that's a half of a stick of butter, and however much you like it sweet or whatever. If you're doing American buttercream, for these only 12 macarons, you're not going to need much. I think any recipe with just a half stick of butter would be fine. I do store my almond flour in the fridge. I have it in an airtight container as well, so it doesn't absorb the moisture, but it keeps it fresh. I also store my extra almond flour in the freezer. Like I have 3 bags in there right now, and I take out and just defrost the night before I'm going to use it. For those of you asking, Judy's egg white powder, that's what I have. Oh, someone answered too. Thank you, Sky. Or Skiv. How do you pronounce your name? SKV. Maybe it's not a name. I used AmeriColor for this black. Lemon macarons would be a good choice. I have a lemon rosemary filling in my fillings video if you want to check that out. JC, I have not put my egg white powder in the fridge. I've never tried that actually. I think it says in a cool, dry place, but so does almond flour, right? So, I don't know. I've just never done that with this. It's so powdery, I would be afraid it would get all yucky and moist in there. Someone asked when you add sprinkles to your macarons. Yes, you want to do it when it's still moist. You want to make sure they stick, right? So right after I pipe them and then you tap your tray out, put your sprinkles on. You don't want to overcrowd your macs with sprinkles. It will cause cracking. And make sure the sprinkles will not melt. There are some like candy sprinkles and they just melt and cause a disaster on top of your macs. Or they like fall in if they're like these little white ones. They just cause a hole in your macarons and then they like go through. You just want regular like confetti sprinkles and ones that won't melt. Jimmy's are good. So someone asked if I tried to use regular flat sheet pans before. I have one French steel pan that I love and I just forgot about it because I haven't been home for 6 weeks. I would have loved to pipe on those today. And that works great. If you have flat sheet trays that work, that's awesome. I don't. I tried air bake, and because they have that insulated, like no browning part on them, with my oven, it would make it so they wouldn't bake thoroughly. So air bake would not work for me. I know a lot of people that use air bake trays and they love them. So it just really depends on your oven. I didn't want to buy a whole bunch of new trays either. So I just flip them over. It's the lazy way, or the cost effective way. Shama, thank you. My oven just said it was ready, so let's get these in the stinking oven. Okay. My hands are really sweaty. I'm a little nervous that these are going to be, I'm a little nervous that they are going to have fragile tops because of the way they feel right now, but we'll see. Okay, they're in the oven. Now we just wait. Let's see here. Someone said they added crushed Oreos on top and some of them cracked. Yeah, Veronica, do you think it was just too many? Because you can definitely pulse it in like a food processor and get it really fine, just like crumbles, and that will help not having such big pieces of crumbs on top. Hello from Poland. Hi. Yes, the size, Bailey, you're right on. That's the size I shoot for my macarons. 1 3/4 inch to 2 inches. I bake 135 Celsius. I don't have a fan, so no air, but I will go like open up my oven door for like a hot second to release steam after about 3 minutes of baking. And I think 135 Celsius is probably around where it is. I set it at 150, my oven, and then I lower it so that it stays at 150. So if you're getting hollow shells and you're trying my method, maybe your oven doesn't decrease in temp and you can keep it at 150 Celsius. I have my macarons in at 275 right now to hopefully have it stay at around 300 Fahrenheit. And it is for 10 minutes. I'll flip the tray and then do 10 minutes and see where we're at. I'll probably need to do a good amount of extra time with the coloring. The dark colors take longer to bake, as well as the thicker matte. Katie asked how long I've been making mats, and the first time I made macarons was in pastry school. I went to pastry school in Chicago when my husband was going through medical school, and I was there for only bread. I had my eyes only on bread, and I just fell in love with macarons when I made them, and all breakfast pastries and like petit fours. So it's definitely from pastry school, and I just, I worked in the field for a while in restaurants and bakeries, and then I had children, and it's a little bit more difficult to be in the restaurant scene with kids. Let me open up my oven real fast. Okay, hopefully it's not too laggy. Let's see. Are we doing okay still with the connection? So anyways, yeah, so I checked my oven temperature just now. It's still around 290, which is fine. That's a good part. It's a good spot for my oven. Yeah, so for about a decade now, I've been making macarons, and only about 4 years in my own home. Someone asked about baking with a convection oven. With a convection oven, I just got back from my mother-in-law's house and I was staying there, and it baked so much faster. Definitely lower your amount of time. This particular oven, I was able to bake at 300. I would drop it down to 290 just because I was nervous, and 290 worked really well for 16 minutes altogether. Instead of on here in my oven, I usually am about 21 minutes, and then it dropped it off six minutes on a convection. So it's really nice, saves a ton of time. I'm excited for you to try out your new oven. So I would definitely recommend 290 to 300 and see how that goes with your oven. That's always my starting zone for anyone, 290 to 300, and then you can go from there to see, you know, oh shoot, my max didn't form any feet, I need to go higher in my oven temp, or they're all cracked, I need to go lower in my oven temp. JC, oh, I'm so happy your max turned out. Let's cross our fingers these black ones do. Someone said their bottoms are always sticky. If your macaron bottoms are sticky, you definitely need to bake longer. You could also change the surface you're piping on. So if you're piping on silicone mats, maybe that's not the best for your oven, and you can try parchment or Teflon. I'm finally caught up. Did I miss anyone's questions? I know this is so long when I do an actual batch live. I feel like I lose a ton of people during this period of time. So if you have more questions, this is my time that you are my main priority. So ask away. Gas and electric, I think they would make a difference. You know, this one that I have is gas, and the one at my mother-in-law's was gas. So I haven't had much experience with electric, so I don't know how to compare at this point. We'll see in a few months when I move what kind of oven I deal with. I'll definitely share. All right. So this is gross. I'm looking at what you guys see. Anyone have questions regarding the black max we just made? Do I ever use color in my macarons? Flavor in my macarons, someone asked. And I do sometimes, but it's mostly like a sprinkle of flavor on top. I don't love to add it into the mix. I have added dried fruit powders. I've just pulsed freeze-dried fruit in a food processor and put them in, and it's great. It just changes the texture, and I'm a purist in the sense that I like to just have the filling flavor everything. But dry things like freeze-dried fruits or tea leaves or spices are always a good thing to add if you want to try it. It just can cause issues, and if you're having trouble already, I'd recommend sprinkling the top with it instead of adding it to your dries. Bailey asked top 3 tips for combating hollows. It is a lot. It's hard to not be general with it, but I will try. So the things that will cause hollows is over whipping your egg whites, which is kind of counterintuitive to me, but over whipping them creates this so much air in it, right? And then you're going to, when you're macaronaging, it's going to have the air in there. Let me try to get this straight. It's just harder to start when your meringue isn't. I'm getting myself into a hole. When you over whip the meringue, it's going to cause all of this air, but it's not going to be stable. So it's easy to just think that you're at this right spot, and it's going to have too much air left in the batter. I'm not making sense right now. Let me try to think straight. I'm losing everything. 3 different ways for combating. Over whipping your egg whites. Under mixing your during macaronage, and you're leaving lots of air in your batter. The recipe could be causing your hollows, but I feel like the main thing is honestly oven temperature and figuring out your oven. I have a gap between most of my cookies. I have a nice gap. I went to my mother-in-law's house, better oven. It wasn't like top of the line, it was a better oven. Every single time they were full. I think we're getting too caught up in how important a full shell is. Yeah, you don't want it to be completely hollow, but you could be dealing with an oven issue, and you might just want to be happy for what you get. Does that make sense? Always want to strive to get better, of course, and try things that might work, but that means playing around with your oven is the main thing I believe which causes hollows. And proper macaronaging to that flowing consistency. You don't want your batter to hold shape. When you're done macaronaging, you want it to like meld back into itself and have no structure and shape to it, if that makes sense. All right, guys, my timer is going off. Let's check to see if they're cracked. I'm sorry I can't bring you over with me. All right, shells are not cracked. They are looking good and baking away. Let me get back to your question. And anyways, isn't it always nice to blame your equipment instead of you? Like, I just be like, oh, it's my oven. No, but I know some people are perfectionists and it tears them apart to see hollows. I would just say practice, play around with, you'll never know if you overmix unless you do it, you know. Don't be afraid to fail because it helps you learn. It's the best way possible. So overmix that batter a little bit, and then you'll know, oh, a little, like 2 strokes less and I'll be perfect, and play around with that. Get to that nice stiff peak without over whipping, and again, that's when egg white powder comes into play. It really helps. It makes it a little bit longer to whip to a stiff peak to have egg white powder, but it decreases your chance of being able to over whip your egg whites. Creme brulee mats would be amazing. I've never made them because I can't sell things that have like cream, or even though they let me sell ganache, so I don't know. Excuse me, but I have never made creme brulee ones because I feel like it would be the best with French buttercream in it, and then just put the sugar on top and torch the top. Yeah, I've seen tons of people do creme brulee macarons and they look amazing. I have been selling under a cottage food license, and I can't do things with food that will spoil, if that makes sense. I have made pistachio macarons. They are my favorite. However, I do not go out and purchase pistachio flour. I just do almond flour and make a bomb pistachio paste filling. I used to sell at the farmer's market once a week. I have stopped because we're moving in a couple months, and it was also just getting to be too much. The timing of the market was when my kindergartner was still in school, so I had to find someone to pick him up, and I just didn't have anyone reliable to be there all the time, and my husband works, so it got a little difficult to do it all. But I did it. Sometimes I'd pull him out of school early and just take him with me to the market, and they were my helpers. So, but yeah, once a week, and it was perfect. I loved it. Lori, the recipe, I can write it in the description when the live is over, but it was 50 grams egg whites, 45 grams sugar, 65 grams powdered sugar, 65 grams almond flour. And then I was trying to answer the have you ever baked shells with flavor? I think I answered that. And then sprinkles on top. Yes, sprinkle them on after you tap your trays and while it's still wet. Lily just got on. Can you summarize? It's been just mixing away with trying to make black macarons. We added some black cocoa powder to help start our dries off, already a little darker than normal, to combat the stark white of confectioner sugar. We added Americolor super black into our meringue to give that meringue a nice base as well, and then we added more black coloring into it while we were macaronaging to keep it nice and dark. And now we're baking and answering questions. So someone asked what the best way is to know when your shells are ready, and if you mean when they're ready from the oven, when they're done, that I usually press down on an actual shell, and if it shows no movement, if the feet don't look like it has any moisture, sometimes you can see the feet have some like moistness still on it, then I cook them a couple minutes longer. If they're nice and sturdy and look dry, I take them out. My favorite flavor of macaron of mine, that's a hard question. I love pistachio, it's classic, but it's kind of boring. I really enjoy blood orange. When I was working at the farmer's market, I would get blood orange oranges from a local farmer and use that in my buttercream, and it was just so bright and good. Shauna, when you rest them, they're getting matte. It's good to get them that matte finish. That means, you know, they definitely are dry. Sometimes I don't wait that long though. Sometimes I just, even if they have a little bit of sheen left on them and I touch them and they're dry, I'll put them in. So if you're having issues with hollows and you think maybe over resting is your issue, you could definitely try make a little tray, so a little tray and then a bigger tray, and you can pop in your first little tray right when they're not sticking to your finger, but a little bit less than you usually do, to see if it helps with your fullness of your shells. Veronica, oh, from Santa Cruz, have a great day if you're still on. Thank you so much for tuning in and for your awesome questions. Bailey, if I were to add egg white powder into this batch, I would have just done 1 gram, 1 or 2 grams. I don't feel like it helps that much in these small batches, to be honest. In the bigger batches, when I am macaronaging more batter, I feel like it helps me more to have it then. Maybe it's just a mental thing, but I don't even feel the need to do egg white powder in these small batches. So the license I have to sell is a cottage food license, and I went directly to the Pasadena is in its own like jurisdiction. It has its own health department. So I went to Pasadena Health Department and you have to give labels and explain everything that you're going to be making with ingredient labels and by weight and everything like that. And then they will say what you can make and what doesn't qualify. They go through everything with you and they give you your license. And then you can sell, there's 2 different licensing. You can do a Class A or Class B. Class A, you sell directly to your customers. Class B is more expensive and you can sell wholesale to local retail stores, which is awesome. I did not do that because they want a lower price. Wholesale usually means lower price, so you have to make sure it's worth your time, but it would be pretty awesome to get your name out there and a great stepping stone to getting your own brick and mortar if that's what you want to do. Sue asked if I can do more filling videos. Yes, I think I will. They're my bread and butter. They're what make your own macarons unique, right? Is your filling, in my opinion. So it's hard for me to give away my filling recipes, to be honest. But I should, but I still do. I plan to sell my macs. So it's always a battle for how much I should share and how much I should keep to my own so my product is still unique. So it's definitely something I am working on and trying to get more stuff out to you guys, but still keeping some of my own secrets, if that makes sense. Yeah, cream cheese, you have to be careful with cream cheese fillings because cream cheese really is a lot wetter and soft. It will make your macarons mature really fast. So just be careful. The cream cheese filling is not sitting around too long because it will get a soggy macaron. Someone asked if I use amaretti. Their flavors are amazing. Yes, I use their mango. I'll get them out of my fridge. I'll show you guys. Let's see if you guys can see this. So this is grapefruit artisan flavor amaretti. And I love their grapefruit, their mango. What else have I tried from them? And passion fruit. It's really good when you're mass producing. It's really hard to give up doing everything on your own and doing your own juices and everything like that. However, if you do cottage food license, a lot of your freedom for flavors goes out the window and you can't add certain fruit juices because it might spoil. They're very strict. So it depends on your area, but having a product that is shelf stable that you can use to add into your own stuff, it speeds it up, it's cost effective, and it's okayed by your licensing if you're if you're out of your own home. So it was hard for me to make the jump and not do everything from scratch, but these are quality things and it's not an extract, it's an actual flavoring. Let's see, the ingredients, mostly sugar, but it does actually have, citric acid and grapefruit flavors. So Let me see what else. Sorry, guys. Did I set a timer? The macarons are almost done, and we can finish this live. Someone asked if you have to do macarons daily. I wouldn't say daily. It's definitely muscle memory though when you're doing the macaronage process. So, but you don't want to have all these macarons around that if no one's going to eat them. So it's definitely a balance of getting that enough done, maybe once or twice a week, and being able to really remember the last batch and how to improve between the next batch, if that makes sense. That's kind of like if you write notes, you could do it once a week. If you don't write notes, maybe you would forget by that time what you did wrong the previous time, you know. So it just all depends on your own memory and how your muscles react to if it's like riding a bike or if it's still awkward and you're trying to get used to it. You eat all of them. Yes, I'll get a closer shot of this grapefruit product. I do not do yoga. I've always wanted to, but I'm not very patient, and like sitting is not my forte. Someone asked how long I wait to rip my macarons off of the mat, and that's usually I do it right away, to be honest, but I do recommend waiting till they're cooled. Let me get your question on the egg white cartons in a second. Let me get the max out of the oven. You guys see them? Let's see if I baked these enough. My hands are so sweaty. Nope, they're still very wet. I should have checked. Let's put them back in. Okay, so I usually bake for 21 minutes or so, but I set my timer for 10 and 10. And then I just put 2 more minutes on, which that would be my normal bake time. But like I said, darker colors, longer bake. So I put them in for 2 more minutes and we'll see. But how I could tell that they were still wet is I pushed down and they moved. They weren't super stable on that mat. The feet kind of just concaved a bit or went down. Okay. If you wanted to lower the sugar content, I never recommend doing this, but if you wanted to lower the confectioner's sugar, yes, replace it with almond flour and keep those ratios. I've heard when your recipe has more almond flour, they tend not to need resting. So it's definitely a fun thing to try. I've never tried it. Katie said she sends all of her macs with her husband. That's a great idea. My kids will eat all of them if I let them, but usually I just freeze them, and then every once in a while we'll bring some out, we'll decorate and make it like an arts and crafts part of our day. I used to sell them, but now it's like I have to make these baby batches so we don't have too much in the house, because I'll go crazy if I don't make macs. Like, I went 3 weeks without it, and it just, I get high strung more so than usual. Just feel off when I don't bake. So, oh, and that's great. You advertise for yourself. That's awesome. Okay, what do you add for food color? Melissa said she sees some recipes add cornstarch. I hear that too. I've heard a lot of people adding cornstarch to their batter, and it makes them full, makes the shells fuller. I've never tried this. I feel like it would give it a different texture. There is already cornstarch in American powdered sugar, so I was wondering if these recipes come from maybe a different country and they don't have that cornstarch already in their powdered sugar or not. So it'd be interesting to look into that, but I've never tried it, but I have heard that too. Okay, egg white carton egg whites. Let's see, can you guys see this? You guys are being so patient. Still another minute or so. So I flipped over one of them on the silicone mat to see how we were doing, and it's still sticking. So they might be just pretty wet from the excess moisture from the food gel. So we'll see if we can get them to come off clean or not with an extra minute. If not, I'll probably take them out soon because I don't want them to burn. Oh my gosh, strawberry cheesecake, Cadbury cream, and pistachio. Who lives, do you live in Alberta, JC? I forget where in Canada. But if you're around there, you guys gotta hit up JC's macaron business. Her flavors sound amazing. JC, do you know Lindsay from Vanilla Bean Bakery? She is awesome too. You guys would get along well. Dora, where do you live? You said you live in Los Angeles area? If the restrictions are lifted, we can definitely do that. It would be fun to meet somewhere like, somewhere that sells, like, what's that? Bodega Louie or something. That would be fun to meet up at a macaron shop and try their macarons and meet and greet. You met her, that's awesome. I've always wanted to meet Lindsay. She seems amazing. Katie, I never did the Swiss method again. I enjoyed it. I just haven't played around with it again. Yeah, I think that would make sense if you're struggling with humidity. It kind of releases some moisture off just by matter of heating it up. So you definitely would be something to look into. In a humid, dry place, Swiss might be perfect. Oh, carton egg whites, thank you. And let me get these max out of the, I promise. So carton egg whites, I tried with 100% carton egg whites. It works. My feet were smaller. The taste was about the same, but I don't know if it was in my mind or what, but I feel like it tasted a little bit more processed. So I loved the ratio that when I was doing mass production, I would use I think almost half carton egg whites and half fresh. Let me see if I can get my mindset. Let me check these max. And I loved that ratio because it made me feel good to be cracking some eggs, but also not wasting so many yolks. So, yeah, leftover yolks because I couldn't, oh, I'm falling. Because I couldn't sell things with like a French buttercream with a custardy base. I'd end up throwing away most of my yolks. We didn't need extra sugary products in my home, so I wasn't making anything with them, and I felt so guilty. So carton egg whites really saved us. You can freeze yolks with 30% of that weight, of its weight in sugar, and it stores well. But then you have to, eventually use them and remember what the 30% of the sucrose was when you're making your recipe. It's work, but maybe it's worth it for you. So our macarons are out. There's one nice lopsided one, but they look pretty good. Someone asked if you can reduce the sugar in a recipe, and you can. Some people have added and done their own recipes where they add more almond flour. I've heard you have to combat hollows that way. I really don't know the effects. I have not tried it. I'm someone who follows, I'm a rule follower for sure, and I hear that it's not good and I don't do it. So I haven't tested reducing the sugar. Baking at Bernie's, there are some egg cartons that are not made for whipping up. You definitely have to find the brand that has a whipping agent added to it, and it will say this and this added for whipping. So that's my brand that I used was Easy Eggs. Then it got discontinued at my Restaurant Depot, and they replaced it with something else, and now that's discontinued. So I don't know a good brand right now for you, but you definitely want to look on the side of the carton and make sure it doesn't say not for whipping, because some cartons will specifically say will not whip for meringue. Allie asked if you can use anything in replace of almond flour. If it's a nut allergy, pepita, so pumpkin seeds, is a good option. Coconut flour is a good option. If it's not like a nut allergy, pistachio flour, if you use pistachio flour, I feel like it is good to have mostly almond flour and like 30% pistachio flour, so that's not the best option. But coconut flour and pepita seeds, I feel like are good. Okay guys, let's take some of these off, see if they're good or not, and then we'll conclude this live. They look good, but they feel a little bit hollow, so let's see. Let's see what you guys can see. So the feet are nice. Let me see if I can wash my dirty hands. It's not helping too much. I got way too much on my hands. But on this one you can kind of see the pink that I tried to get on there. I don't know if you guys can see a little bit of a pink hue, but that's from trying to put some electric pink on the saran wrap and paint it on. And I'm so bummed that it froze when I was doing that. Here's the inside. Pretty good. Will it stain your teeth? Do I ever use Italian method meringue buttercream? Yeah. Let's see here. I have used I don't know if my thing never stays up at this level. I have used Italian buttercream. I feel like Swiss meringue tastes the same and it's a little bit less work, so I usually opt for Swiss meringue instead. But here's this bad boy. They look good, right? Let me see if it stains my teeth. Someone asked me. I love eating on camera. Let's see. Is my tongue black? It stained my mouth, for sure. I don't want to gross you guys out too much, but it definitely stained my mouth. It's so worth it. It doesn't taste too chocolatey with those 3 grams. If you choose to add your cocoa powder in there, the dark cocoa powder, so they can get away with not being chocolate. So it does help, but if you want to omit the the dark cocoa powder, that's fine. You might just need a little bit more coloring. Yep, you guys, I love you lots. Thanks for all your awesome questions. Hope I didn't ramble on too much, and I'm gonna eat some macarons now. Are they not 100% full? No, you want me to crack open one more? They have a tiny, oh, that one. My camera's falling. Well, I'm just gonna go. But no, they weren't 100% full. My camera doesn't stay on, so now I'm like holding it. But much love, everybody. Thanks for joining me. And just a recap real fast. I added coloring into each step. So the dries, the meringue, and that's what we got. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I will talk to you later. Bye from the Netherlands. Bye, you guys.